While in the Philippines, one of the big considerations is healthcare, particularly for us seniors. Let's take a look. Hello and welcome. This video is going to be very important for anyone that's living in the Philippines or considering living in the Philippines, particularly if you're a senior, as I am. And hang on to the end of the video. I've got some very important information that could be a lifesaver for you, and you really do need to have it. And I'll cover that with you towards the end of the video. But by the time we've reached over 60, we're starting to consider that, it's not going to last forever. Things do end, and you start to see friends and family pass away, and we know it's on the way. Some prepare in different forms, prayer, meditation. And others have a very difficult time accepting the fact that it doesn't last forever and that, it will end. But we don't want it to end while we're here in the Philippines, of course. So it's up to us to make sure that we prepare and take care of ourselves. Life has been good for most of us. Other than that, we probably wouldn't be here. But, as I said, it does tend to go away, for lack of a better term. It's not a question of if, it's a question of really of when. And we can certainly prolong that if we take certain measures. And living here in the Philippines, it is definitely more challenging if an event does occur, and you want to avoid that at all costs here. Anywhere for that matter. But here, you're kind of out on a limb a little bit in certain instances, and certainly if you live out in the Providence. So you do want to make sure that you don't have any events that would, lead to places like this. And I can pretty much assure you the healthcare in the Philippines, though in some locations is very good. I think it's probably not going to be up to par from what it may have been at your home in, the Western country you come from. And we certainly don't want to get into a situation where we're like this gentleman. And I do know that I've seen ambulances on the highway in traffic jams, and I always wonder, who's in there? But one of the responsibilities that we have is to the families that we have back home, of course, but also to the family or friends we have here. We don't want to put them in a situation where they have to deal with us if we're incapacitated or worse. And I have known about 6 or 8 folks here that unfortunately didn't make it out. Now, I will tell you that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm just your average guy. But I do spend a lot of time studying and learning how to take care of myself. I too have, medical conditions that are somewhat serious for some, I guess. So I just don't want you to think that the advice that I'm giving is medical professional advice. You really need to check with your own doctor. Now, I won't cover specific insurance plans here. There are quite a few online on YouTube that you can kind of search and find out specifically what plans are available. And of course, that's going to depend what country you're from, what insurance company, if you have insurance, if you don't have insurance. But you will need some sort of coverage or financial backing if something does happen, because if not, they will leave you at the door and, you'll end up at the morgue. But having said that, there are some things that you could or need to be doing just to ensure that you don't end up in the emergency room or outside of the emergency room. And those are pretty common things, but sometimes we overlook them as life goes on. We tend to take it, really enjoy life a little bit too much, particularly in America where I come from. Maybe not eating the right foods and drinking the wrong beverages, things of that nature, lack of exercise. But these are all things that we really need to consider before we come to the Philippines, but certainly once we're here, because you cannot really take a chance here on having an episode, a medical episode, and putting that power in someone else's hands to take care of you, because that just may not be here. And I've heard so many cases of where that was true. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do as individuals to minimize the chance, and that's really what it boils down to, because inevitably, as you get older, you're not going to make it to 90 years old without having some sort of episode or episodes. So you really need to minimize that and make sure that it doesn't happen, or if it does, that it's at a very minimal, has a minimal impact on you physically. So a couple things, if you're coming over, if you do take pharmaceuticals, you definitely want to try to bring those with you, but also line up sources before you get here to make sure you're able to get that once you're here, because that could be a problem for some. I know with me, my breakfast always includes a plate full of pills, 3 of which I have to take. The other ones are usually vitamins or supplements, something of that nature. But you need to make sure that you've got your stuff covered. And personally, once here, I would actually get reevaluated by a doctor here, because many times American doctors are really just selling prescriptions and procedures and not really caring about individuals so much. They get kickbacks. So that's kind of something I like to get a different perspective on it. Also, in our diets, we have horrible diets in America, as I said, and probably other Western world countries as well. But our horrible diets are definitely going to have an impact on us later in life. And if it hasn't hit you already, it very well could be the end for you if you don't take care of it. And that was one of my favorites. I love my burgers. Not a big fries person, but all of these things are things that we really need to modify as we get older. We can't eat the same way we did when we were 20. Okay? So you really have to take a look at that and try to minimize that in your body. And I won't say that you have to actually quit it completely, but it is something, you're just not going to be able to eat like you did when you were 20 years old. And I don't think you'd be able to get a pizza like this over here anyway. I haven't seen one yet. But anyway, and I'm from Texas, so, we love our barbecue and burgers and stuff like that. So I'm not going to give it up totally, but I'm not going to have it every Sunday like I used to have when I lived in Texas. I mean, I have to put it down to, maybe a couple times a year. Because the whole key really is to make sure that we have good arteries, make sure they're clean. And that's one thing a tip I'm going to cover with you at the end of the video, is how you can help that really a lot. Pretty much a lifesaver, not only the arteries, but your gut health as well. Because all illness starts in the gut, without a doubt. So I'll cover that with you in a few minutes. But as I said, I think one of the things we got to look at is diet here. Now, we're in an environment here where we've got a lot of the fresh fruits and vegetables. Why not take advantage of that? And if you don't like them in the past, it's time to change. You're not getting any younger. So, kind of weed out the older stuff, bring in the new stuff, and try to save your life. Really what it boils down to. And that girl's name is Bamboo. Great gal, by the way. Hard worker. But in any event, those are, you can incorporate a lot of fruits and vegetables into your diet now. And yeah, we may not like it, but you're fighting for your life at this point. The older you get, the more you have to fight for your life. I mean, it's not like 20, 25 years old where you're on cruise control. You have to start incorporating minerals and nutrients from these vegetables and fruits into your body to stay healthy. And I'm sorry if it's tough love, but that's the way it is. And certainly, you can find a lot of folks around town and maybe a girlfriend that knows how to cook for you. They can cook healthy for you with the fruits and vegetables. If you don't know how to do it, find somebody that can do it for you. In this country, there's a lot of people willing to do that. I love these guys. Fortunately, they just closed the restaurant down, so they're not cooking anymore. Kind of broke my heart. I enjoyed going there. A lot of fun. But as I said, there's a lot of things we can do. We have to start looking at diet, number one. Get evaluated by a doctor to make sure that the medication you're getting is something you really need. Particularly like high blood pressure, the diabetes medicine they had in the United States, they recently found out it also had causing cancer. So I think when you look at it from a different perspective and also kind of a second opinion, it might be a good idea here. And then start incorporating some fresh fruits and vegetables into your diet. It's definitely going to go a long way in helping you out. Yeah. Now you get a girlfriend that knows how to cook, like my MJ. She knows how to cook. She's a great cook. She's health conscious. She cooked this out on the patio, some barbecue chicken and some black rice, which I've really never had before, but now I've got it. I eat it several times a week. Lettuce. Homemade lemonade, all of these things. So if you get a gal that's really health conscious and knows how to cook, that's a lifesaver. And there's that black rice again. I'm not a big fan of the white rice, but the black rice I've pretty much become addicted to. And as I said, she whips up some bone broth with moringa, which if you're not using moringa, you should be using that here. This plant is amazing. I think you'll agree if you do a little research on it. You're crazy not to be using it, especially as we're older. As we get older, our muscle tissue tends to decrease. Even if we're in the gym every day, doesn't matter. Eventually our muscle tissue is going to decrease. Along with that is the heart muscle. It also becomes weaker. So with that, it's very, very important to make sure that we counter that with some form of exercise, as I mentioned, like walking, things like that. But also the stress that we're putting on the heart, because as we get older, our metabolism slows down, means we're probably going to put on some weight, which adds more stress to the heart, which is already getting weakened. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You have to make sure you watch your weight, keep it down. At the same time, make sure the heart stays exercised. So if you think about it, just having a few extra pounds and walking upstairs or just walking in general day-to-day life is going to put a lot more stress on the heart, which we really don't need to do as we get older. And that's probably one of the major killers in the world for men and women is heart attack. And that's done through stroke and stress to the heart. So I think not looking at weight reduction is probably irresponsible for a lot of us, and it's something I struggle with as well. But yeah, one of the things that we can look at also, and I don't know if a lot of people have heard about it, is intermittent fasting, which I've done it, and not only for weight reduction, but also to engage the immune system as well. It's another thing you can probably Google or YouTube it, and I think you'll see the benefits for it as well. Something we want to incorporate into our lifestyle. But like I said, even just walking a little bit each day, I know every country I've been in, everybody asks me, how come you don't have a car? How come you don't have a moto? And I said, if I buy a car or a moto, I'm not going to be walking. It'll be just like in the United States again, where everywhere I go, I walk out, get in a car, go to the store or see the family, and I drive back, get out of the car, go into the house. No exercise whatsoever other than turning the key. Here, and while I've been traveling, I've been focusing more on forcing myself to walk. That means walking to market, walking any place I go. Now, occasionally I do rent a car or a moto, and I can do that if I need to. But I don't want to get into the routine that I was into when I was in America. And once I got my driver's license at 17 years old, pretty much quit walking at that point. Just spent a lot of time in the car and got around walking. So I think that kind of works counterproductive for us. But, even if you don't have a good location to walk in, I'm sure that everyone can find a place to walk where it's peaceful and quiet and enjoyable. And if it's too hot, walk early in the morning or find a place that's tree covered or covered and walk. You can also walk in the malls. Air-conditioned malls always make a good walking place. Walk floor to floor if you want to, and certainly there's usually quite a bit of enjoyable scenery there in regard to the ladies. So, I mean, if you really want to get healthy, if you really want to do something, I think you can figure out a way to do it. Certainly, we've got some beautiful scenery here in the Philippines to go out and enjoy and walk. It doesn't have to be super stressful. It doesn't have to be hot. But I think it's going to be as tough and as bad as you make it, which is often the case with many things in life. We tend to make things a lot worse on ourselves than they really are. Previously in the States, I was in the gym probably 3 to 4 days a week. My sons and I love going to the gym. I don't really like it anymore. I'm not really into a treadmill thing. But if that's all you got and if that's what you like, why not do it? I mean, it's a good way to socialize. It's a good way to meet people. And certainly, again, make sure that we're getting that cardio that we need. One of the other things that I really like and I've been into for many years is yoga. Yoga is a great activity. You can do it alone. You can stretch. You can do a faster yoga, which really increases the heart rate, which is good to do as well. But yoga is going to allow you to be limber, and what it focuses on is driving blood into areas that we may not use regularly. If you're sitting in a chair all the time, you might not get that. But I hate to feel like I'm lecturing to you, but I do want to try to reach out to some folks that may have situations where they just kind of let things slide a bit. And I don't want to be preacher to you either, but I do want to try to save some lives if I can, or make your quality of life better, and also mine as well. Some people do tell me I'm like a preacher, particularly when it comes to yoga and things like that. That's just something I enjoy. And I mentioned earlier in the video that I had been diagnosed with something. It's actually an incurable disease. They told me I could die tomorrow or I could die in 20 years. They just don't know. But rather than sit in a chair someplace in a room, I decided to start traveling the world, and that's what I've been doing for the last several years ever since. And I also told you that I would share with you at the end of the video a couple of tips that I found to be very, very helpful for me. One was the yoga. Also, intermittent fasting. If you can do anything for your health, look into it and put it into your life. And then lastly, the last thing that I do on a daily basis, which really isn't pleasurable, but in regard to my arteries and my gut health, I do use Bragg's vinegar, and I don't make anything from it. But I can't tell you, if you're a senior citizen, or anybody for that matter, you really need to incorporate this into your lifestyle, because this definitely is a lifesaver. So with that, I'll go ahead and bid you adieu today. I hope that you really found something valuable out of this video today, and that I can help you in any way. And feel free to comment anything you want to say to me, ask me. I'm happy to answer. Again, thank you so much.